So often we feel unsettled and in need. Can you share with us some ways how we can find support for ourselves?
Sure. I'm going to teach a practice from the realization process called foundational grounding. And that can help us actually feel settled within our own body, comfortable and at home with our own body. It gives us a sense of basic security that we don't need to find it from elsewhere, from someone else, that we can really feel at home and in touch with all of our faculties right inside our own body. Also, this practice is very good for alleviating anxiety because it is a practice of settling into our foundations. We're going to settle into 7 foundations within the body. And anxiety is really an upward movement. We have the expression, my heart was in my throat, and we don't want our heart in our throat. We want to be settled within ourselves so that we always have that sense of being related and supported within our own body and supported by the ground, supported by our environment. So this practice, we do it sitting upright. Just start by focusing on your breath, just to get here, just to begin to feel tuned into yourself. So even breath, maybe 3 counts in, 3 counts out.
Would that be in through my nose, out through my nose, or does it matter?
Yes. Yeah, preferably if you can. Breathing in through your nose, 3 counts, out through your nose, and the exhale really a release through the nose, so you're not controlling it if you can. But you can even have the breath be calm, right? If we calm the breath, it helps calm our mind. Okay, so just to prepare for this practice, just a little breathing. You can even use the breath to help you feel present right where you are in your own environment. So you're breathing that air that's in your own room. And now come find your feet and feel that you inhabit them. And see if you can make contact with your feet. And this is different than being aware of your feet. It's actually being inside your feet. See if you can feel that. It's like you're present or even conscious within your feet. And let your breath adjust to being that far down in your body so that your inhale doesn't lift you up away from there. Let's just sit and do that for a moment. You're in your feet and you're breathing. Right? See if you can stay in your feet. And now let yourself really settle into your feet so that you experience your feet as a foundation for yourself, as a place that supports you. And because you have that support, you can let your emotional life rest. You can let your mental life rest, right? But you have the support inside your feet. Now, in the same way, come inhabit your pelvic floor, right? That's the whole base of your torso, and it includes the sit bones. Right? So really inhabit that area, make contact with the whole base of your torso. And once again, experiencing the base of your torso as foundation, right? That it holds you. Right? Like if we're held securely as infants, then we grow up having that sense of security. But most of us have to find that a little bit for ourselves, right? So here we are, that the base of the torso holds you. And you can let all of even your sexual excitation rest. You can let your emotional life rest. Now come into your respiratory diaphragm, right? All the way around the base of your ribs, bottom of your ribs. And of course, the diaphragm moves with your breath. It lowers a little bit as you inhale, and it releases a little bit as you exhale. So settling into your diaphragm. and letting yourself ride that movement of the diaphragm, really resting within it. It feels like you're resting in your heart, right? And you're settled in the diaphragm. Now come into your collarbones and let yourself rest in your collarbones. Right? Even inside the bones itself. Right? And that can let your voice rest, right? And your mind rest. And the collarbones are like a necklace, right? They settle on the body, and then you're resting inside the collarbones. Right? And you may even feel how that helps below, right? The diaphragm can settle even more. Okay, now come into the base of your skull and your jaw and really inhabit, right? Really feel present in the base of your skull, right? The occipital ridge and your jaw. And here again, we can even be inside the bone of the jaw and resting there. Let yourself feel how that gives support to your thinking mind, right? The thinking mind can rest. Now let your eyes rest in the sockets, right? So not even back, which is fine, but also down, right? That the ground, the floor, is even supporting your eyes. And resting the top of your head very gently. Now, if you can, take a moment to feel that you're inhabiting your whole body all at once, including all of those foundations. Let yourself feel how you can depend on that, how you can rely on your own support. Now, very important to be able to feel this standing. So take a moment, come stand up. And standing here, find your feet. And the same thing, that you're really in contact with them. You're not just aware of them from your brain down, but you're actually present, living inside your feet. And let your breath adjust you being that far down. Right? And feeling again the foundation of your feet, your pelvic floor. Even though you're standing, the base of the torso is a support for us. And all of the life inside our torso can rest, can settle. Right? Especially standing, we tend to lift up off the floor to support ourselves. And in doing that, we actually cut off from our real support. Right? So very important to come on back down and let yourself rest towards the ground. Feel that you're in your respiratory diaphragm. Right? Resting in your diaphragm. Letting your emotional life rest. Resting in your collarbones. Everything related to the floor. Resting in the base of your skull and your jaw. And now do this with your eyes open, because it may change a little bit the way you look out of your eyes. With your eyes open, looking straight ahead, rest the eyes in their sockets. Let the floor support your eyes. And now resting the top of your head very gently. So even the top of your head is related to the floor. And take a moment to feel the security of that you have all of that foundation inside your body. And now taking a little walk around your room. And you can even just find one foundation to settle in, right? So here's something you can tune into at any time during your life if you feel like you need a little extra grounding. Right? You can choose one, or you can be in all of them. Okay, great. Come sit down again. How are you doing, Liam? Anything you want to say about that or ask?
Yeah, I think one thing that was coming up for me that was really wonderful, by the way, thanks for taking me so methodically through each part. The inhabiting is something a little bit different that I like, as opposed to say what many are, I have been exposed to, is this idea of scanning.
Yeah.
That make a
Very
difference in
different.
your mind? Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the difference in that?
Yes, it's quite different. And we can actually come alive within our whole body and feel that we're conscious, that we're present everywhere in our body. And that puts us in touch with what really feels like the ground of our being, a very subtle level of consciousness that gives us a sense of wholeness, that gives us access to our wholeness wherever we are, whether we're moving, whether we're talking, that we're talking with our whole being, that we're touching with our whole being. So, and actually that level of consciousness even pervades our environment as well as our body. We get more deeply into that in the realization process. But for this, yes, it's very different than just being aware or scanning or noticing what's going on in the body, that we actually are the internal space of our body, is how it feels. So it's a real mind-body integration.
Yeah. I like the way you said that, internal sense of our body. We are that internal sense of our body.
Yes.
And that comes over time, I imagine.
Yes. Again, yeah, pretty much everything I teach, they're all practices that get easier and easier and more tangible in the experience that they're evoking as we practice them.
And as you were taking me from the feet on up through my body, is there a posturing anticipation I should have? I kind of felt myself sort of becoming more upright, but that might not always be the case. What phenomenon can one expect?
I mean, it is interesting that as we inhabit the internal space of the body, alignment does begin to naturally occur, right? So there's a felt sense of continuity, which is reflected even in the way we look, the way we stand, the way we sit.
So I'm experiencing some calm, some rest. The anxiety is coming down. And I think that in that way, maybe some sense of support or security or trust can happen. Are there anything more you can share about those aspects of the work?
I think so. I think what we're doing is we're filling in, of course, all the time when we're doing our psychological healing, we're filling in little bits that we didn't get growing up that we can now bring in ourselves with the help of a therapist. But in this practice, we're bringing in that sense of being held securely. So if we are held securely as infants, then we naturally trust. We trust that we're going to get what we need. We trust that we're going to be loved. We trust that we're not going to be dropped, right? We feel that security. So of course, that's a tall order. It's a tall order for any parent to feel all the time secure in the way that they're handling their baby. So most of us grow up with a little bit of deficit there. And some of us, of course, with quite a bit. But we can, like any of these deficits, we can fill that in for ourselves because everything we need really is right within our own body and being. Right? So those foundations are right there for us to contact.
Wonderful. And is there certainly this work, just the way you took us through it, is something we can return to and do on a regular basis, daily maybe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would recommend whatever you remember, right? Whatever sticks with you. I mean, you can, of course, you can also come back to the tape and do the whole practice. And once in a while, that's definitely recommended if this is helpful for you. But also walking around, you can tune in on whatever part of the practice you remember. So if it's being in your feet or it's being in the diaphragm, right, whatever it is, and just let yourself have that experience for a moment.
Yeah. And how important is the feet as you're moving through, as you took us up? That was very important, right? To come up, because then you're bringing yourself down, which brings your anxiety down.
Each area is a settling, right?
The feet.
Yeah, each area
Oh,
settles.
each area. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So then, in fact, that's how we get to that internal unity, that coherence inside the body, because the midsection is settled within the pelvis, and the chest is settled, continues with the midsection and so forth, right? So we're, that kind of resting in ourselves and feeling comfortable in ourselves is a settling throughout our whole being.
Yeah, you just brought up a really important piece, this unity, this settling in yourself. Love and unity is such a great, important place to go to that.
Yeah.
You just mentioned unity. I wonder if you could say a little more about that.
As we're able to inhabit our whole body, which comes in little by little, we actually, interestingly, that the body so directly corresponds with our being. So we're actually able to think and feel at the same time, right? If we inhabit our head and our chest at the same time, we can actually think and feel at the same time, which of course helps with our feelings, helps with our thinking, right? We can speak and think and feel all at the same time, so that we're talking from our heart, but we're also talking from what we know, and that becomes an innate, inherent integration, right? That's just who we are deeply, is that underlying unity of ourselves. So then everything we do reflects the wholeness of our being.
Yeah, and there's a sense of confidence that comes from that for me as I hear that, to make interrelational experiences even more connected, because I'm coming from more of a truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely helps us speak what we really feel. And then if we, in the realization process, there are a lot of actual relational practices where we practice both inhabiting our body and then feeling the resonance, the depth of that connection all the way through the whole body. So yes, it helps us contact ourselves more deeply and everyone and everything around us more deeply.
Yeah, and it begins to create a new sense of, what feels right with another or a situation, as well as for boundaries, right?
That's right. Yes, we begin to feel our actual boundary, which is that I'm over here in my body and you're over there in your body. And that's our true boundaries. Even though there's, a dimension of consciousness that unites us, we're still separate, each in our own body. And so we can absolutely feel where we are and, where we end, that's the desk and this is me. We're not the same, although, we can feel a connection.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. That sort of ties into this being able to be disentangled and yet also connected.
That's right.
Which you've discussed in one of the other exercises we've done together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fantastic. Just this simple exercise can build to something so big and important. I thank you for taking us through it. And I wonder if there's not one comment about maybe how a therapist might use this with their clients.
Well, it can certainly help to start a session if the client is feeling too anxious to actually get in touch with what they want to say or what they're feeling. It can help at the end of a session when there's been a lot of release work going on and a lot of emotional tumult going on, a lot of emotional expression, to end by feeling this grounded and this in touch with oneself.
Wow, that's fantastic. Two very important parts of a session. So thank you for bringing that piece in. Very helpful.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you, Judith. Talk to you again soon.